everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tilly, and today I have such a special video for all of you. I sat down with a sports nutritionist named Maya, and we talked all about how we can reframe our nutrition goals so that we don't focus on calorie restriction and we don't fall into fads or into yo-yo dieting. I am personally coming from a history of eating disorders, and so talking about nutrition can sometimes be a little bit triggering for me, but surprisingly in this conversation, I didn't have any of that experience. Hearing somebody from the nutrition world talk about things like fat loss was really interesting to me because Maya was so impartial throughout the discussion, very neutral and just fact-based. And I think she really highlighted that food just gives us so much. And so even if we do have fat loss goals, we can still recenter our approach and focus on performance or process achievements and focus on how food makes us feel above all else. So if this is a sensitive topic to you, then I really suggest that you click away from the video. But if you're interested in hearing about how we can reframe the concept of diets to improve our life, improve our performance, and so that we can fuel and nourish ourselves to do the activities that we love and to reach our long-term nutrition goals, then let's jump right in. Maya, who are you? Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. My name is Maya Rolston. I am a nutritionist and performance nutritionist, currently based in Hong Kong. That's how I know the lovely Tilly. So yeah, I went to university. I did an undergrad in nutrition, sort of nutrition, diet, and lifestyle in the UK. And then I went on and did a master's in sport and exercise nutrition. Always loved sport. Performance nutrition really seemed kind of like an obvious place for me to go. I love sport. I love performance. I'm really passionate about how kind of food can make you a better athlete and really kind of get the most out of yourself in terms of exercise and sport. So yeah, I currently have spent the past couple of years working as a nutritionist, working kind of one-to-one with clients, providing sort of individualized dietary advice. So athletes and lots of corporate individuals in Hong Kong, doctors, lawyers, bankers, teachers, pretty mixed bag. So I kind of keep lots of different plates spinning. The longer you work in your industry, the more you kind of find your niche. And as a woman, I really enjoy working with other women because more often than not, I've been where they are starting. And for me, that's just like so motivating for me. Like, you know, in helping somebody kind of change their mindset or really kind of have that moment of like, oh, okay. When I was thinking about like, you know, my business and my client base, I wrote down, I want to be the person that I needed when I first started. By started, I mean, honestly, I think as a woman, I can't speak for everybody, but I hit that point where I was like, I have a body. Like, you know what I mean? You're like a young girl. I don't know. I was always kind of skinny, sporty, whatever. And then, you know, drinking a couple Coronas and a few too many pizzas at the weekend kind of caught up with me a little bit. I think I picked up an injury. I gained a little bit of weight and I started to feel a little bit conscious of myself and like conscious of, oh, weight loss, or like, oh, maybe I need to like actually control what I'm eating or look at what I'm eating. And I would always just like go straight for all the bullshit fads and like, you know, no carbs, eat super, super light most of the day and then get to the evening and like was about to collapse. I was like, okay, yeah, I don't understand this healthy eating thing sort of thing. So yeah, I suppose I took a lot of like incorrect advice. I took a lot of information from people that weren't, you know, properly informed. Yeah, all of the shit that we get thrown at us as women, I probably did, like no carbs, lots and lots of high intensity exercise, as well being in the space that we're in. I sometimes need to like check myself and remind myself that like when you know information and when you learn information and when you're further along on your journey, it's actually really hard to like forget what it felt like to not know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe everybody knows this stuff now. Like maybe we're further along, but the work that I do every day, and I'm sure that you do as well, does kind of affirm the fact that it's so normal to still be where I was. Do you know what I mean? Like I did 2 degrees and I'm still like, you know, there's still a ton of things that I don't know. And, you know, like everybody is starting at that point. They might be further along, even elite level athletes or whatever. You'd be shocked at like actually how much improvement that you can still continually make. And I think with training and nutrition, there's no end date. You don't like squat 100 kilos and then like hang up the lifting shoes. You know, like this is a continual process, I suppose.
That's a framing of it that I've not heard. Do it for life. It's not like, oh, I have to weigh X amount.
That leads so perfectly into my point. The reason I love performance nutrition and the reason I love training, it does not have a end date. It doesn't have a outcome.
What is performance nutrition?
It's just like so lovely. It is simply kind of like focused on incremental improvements, on enjoying the process, chasing those 1%, whether that's in diet or training. And it's just completely not outcome focused. It's not focused on scale weight, on how you look, on anything kind of surface level. A lot of people ask me sort of, why would I focus on performance with a client that's just like looking to lose fat or looking to maintain weight, or maybe, improve a relationship with food, or they're not like technically an elite level athlete with a goal. And the reason being is that performance nutrition sort of rejects anything sort of toxic or negative that kind of comes with diet culture or the fitness industry in terms of working towards like a goal weight or a goal outcome, or being too focused on, what you can achieve in 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever. Performance nutrition like doesn't give a shit about that. It's looking at like the long term, and it's really, really dependent on, being consistent, showing up, taking action, but really like enjoying the process and chasing those 1% improvements in, could be absolutely anything as well. Seeing those, those improvements is super, super motivating. So when we kind of chase those, the chances that we are consistent with them and we have that gratification that's like, oh, I did that and I'm better now, is so much more kind of motivating. When I work with clients, I might just look at, can we feel more energized? Can we improve your exercise recovery? Can we stop those kind of like 3 p.m. slumps or crashes?
When I hear improvements, again, that yo-yo diet part of my brain is like, oh, okay, you mean eat less calories and stuff like that. But considering it in terms of like energy or slumps during the day, I know it shouldn't be novel, but it still is.
I think the reason I love it and I love a performance focus is it is just like, it's inherently about like nourishing your body and doing like everything that is scientifically possible to support your body in a certain scenario. That is so positive, and like there's really no way that we can kind of like negatively frame that. And that is still the approach. Even if someone is working towards a fat loss goal, like I said, we can still make sure that they're absolutely maximizing performance, around exercise, and their kind of daily routine within a certain calorie intake. Whereas often when we focus on a fat loss goal, it's like restriction, restriction, restriction. And that is kind of what we've been taught, like, oh, it's eat less and it's do more and it's like feel hungry. And it's kind of like the focus is like pretty negative.
Your post, you talk about fueling fat loss. That seems like a contradiction in my head. Do you want to kind of explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's like embodies kind of everything that we've touched upon, which is that fueling fat loss and like losing weight, whatever, it usually does come from like a restriction perspective. Like, what can I cut out? What can I not have? Like, we see it so much in our language, when actually we can significantly improve the quality of your diet, even in a fat loss phase. So when someone comes to me wanting to lose weight, cool, yeah, they think we're just going to lose weight, but like what I'm doing is like significantly increasing their protein intake, improving their recovery, their energy levels, their concentration, the quality of their workouts, using things that are tools that are going to get them to get the most out of themselves. So for me, it's all about like what we're able to gain, even though we're looking to lose a little bit of weight. And those things are not juxtaposed. It's not a dichotomy. Like, you can achieve both in tandem. It just is about paying attention more specifically to the quality of your diet, timings, and that sort of thing.
I think that language is super important, like the reframing of it in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I think as women, like, we're more so than men. I mean, diet culture influences us all, but it is as much like feeling satisfied and getting enough fiber and, putting together well-balanced meals that are filling, as well as fueling performance as well. We've got to feel good and we've got to enjoy the diet we eat. Carbs are super tasty. They make us happy. We're not just a sum total of the nutrient value of food. There's so much else that's at play.
On the language again, it seemed very impartial. Yeah, it's super interesting because normally when you talk to anybody who's not qualified or doesn't have the same level of knowledge, it's like, oh yeah, but that's crap for you, or like, don't have that, that's so unhealthy and things like that. But the way that you're framing makes such a difference.
Yeah, I talk about food in a very neutral way, and that's something I try and instill with my clients. Food neutrality, body neutrality, just lean really on scientific language, mainly because it's quite cold, which I find to be quite positive. Like, yeah, the energy value of X is higher. That's a more energy dense snack option. There's no, like, do you feel any negative or positive like tone? It's like, no, it's factual. And that's kind of what I try and do. And that doesn't mean I'm not supportive and compassionate with my clients, but it's like a reframe for them as well. Rather than like, oh, I know that's a really bad option. I'm like, it's a more energy dense option, which may not align with your goals, but like, did you enjoy it? Cool, we move on.
Using the word happiness or enjoyment when it comes to food.
Totally. I think we've got to understand that like consistency and adherence is at the base of sports nutrition. The reason that I like it is because it is like it is showing people that like in order to get to a goal, you need to be consistent and you need to put in the work. And that's the same with your diet. Training and focus on performance almost kind of like illustrates that, if that makes sense. And yeah, my point being with that is like, well, we're not going to be consistent with anything that we don't enjoy. So you might as well throw that out the window. If consistency and rejecting the all or nothing mentality comes above pretty much anything that you could do in terms of like training or diet, you're not going to get any kind of physical adaptation if you're not doing the work. Same with diet. Like if you're not going to be consistent and like consistently try and implement those changes, then you'd be better off having like more of a suboptimal diet that you enjoy and can be consistent with than be aiming for perfection and not being able to achieve that. Rejecting that all or nothing approach and really, really enjoying your food. I actually set that as a goal for one of my clients this week. So I said to, with a couple other habits, I said, I want you to lead from a food enjoyment perspective this week and not worry so much about like adding a little extra glug of like olive oil to your salad because it makes it taste way better than like skimping on fats and like being afraid to use like condiments. And I just said like, go for it. And what do we know? We've been way more consistent over the past couple of weeks.
Even acknowledging that gray area exists and that it's not you failed or you succeeded, and the increments and the small improvements.
I mean, food's at like the center of so many people's lives. It's so much more than like the sum total of its nutrient profile. And I think, we've really got to understand that like eating is like the best thing. Like if we can find a way that we can enjoy it, feel good, get the most out of performance and really strike that good kind of balance, we're focusing on getting the best out of ourselves. And the focus is on eating well for performance, not eating well for a certain scale weight outcome and things like that.
Performance nutrition as a whole is aimed on like rejecting diet culture and all that it stands for. But how can aiming for fat loss and rejecting diet culture operate on that same?
A very good question, by the way. But one thing to focus on first would be that body positivity doesn't have a weight. I don't think being overweight means that you're more body positive, or everyone can exist as a body positive individual regardless of what sort of body that they're existing in. Number one, rejecting diet culture is rejecting the idea that you are more or less worthy based on the body that you exist in. Rejecting diet culture is also rejecting really extreme, unsustainable practices that do not support your health. If anything, harm your health, harm your physical and mental well-being in how aggressive or extreme they are. So how can we reject diet culture and lose fat? Well, number one, we've got to address maybe the reasons why we want to lose fat. For a lot of people, losing a little bit of body fat is a healthful goal to have for them. It would improve their, markers of health, the way they feel. So in the action of wanting to reduce their weight, they are taking a health-centered approach and a body positive approach. They're not saying at a smaller body weight, I'm going to be more lovable or more valued, or I'm going to be happier at that lower weight, or, I'm going to get more attention at that. Like, that's not what they're losing that weight for. So it's important to recognize like what your intention is behind that, but more importantly, what methods you're taking to get there. So if you're losing weight because you're going out for more walks in the evening, eating less processed food, or trying to make more home cooked meals, trying to encourage your children to eat a healthier diet, like that is completely rejecting diet culture on all levels. And you can still, for example, lose weight and still go, okay, I'm going to have a banana and some Greek yogurt and some honey before I go for my evening run because I really want to feel well fueled. But that is also in line with my fat loss or weight maintenance goal. There's absolutely like no loss of body positivity wanting to improve your health and the way that you feel. That also doesn't come with a set weight outcome. It's saying, I'm going to go for more more walks or improve my diet or try and do more exercise. And if weight loss happens as a byproduct of that, then cool. But it's not shaming themselves into fat loss or into weight loss. That's not body positivity.
Yeah, I think so. And I think reframing it from the perspective of restriction and exclusion into like, this is what you're gaining, and like we're gaining energy or we're gaining knowledge about what we're eating, or like how it's going to make us happier and be able to interact with the world in a more positive way. Like that reframing and that mindset shift, I think is really, really huge.
My whole ethos as a nutritionist, it's like fueling for life. This world is pretty damn fun, and like, you know, our energy should be put on important shit, you know, like your family. And you can't crack a good joke if you're too hungry, you know. And it's like, what, you know, what are our priorities? What do we value? You know, our family, our job, our career, maybe our, you know, our daily routine, our feeling good, running, exercising, whatever it is, having energy. And we can't really get the most out of life or ourselves if we are preoccupied with food or worrying about something that we ate or having all that kind of toxic messaging. So that's really kind of why I guess do what I do.
I don't know about you, but I found that conversation incredibly interesting. There are a few parts that really stood out to me. Number one, that food enjoyment could be a goal. I would not have even considered that before speaking to Maya about this. And I think that that is so important, particularly when we're talking about consistency with our diet or adherence. This is something we're gonna be doing for life, right? Like, we can't stop eating. So it's so important that we enjoy ourselves. Another thing that wasn't mentioned in this video, but Maya and I did talk about, was how you know you reach your end goal when you're not focusing on things like scale weight. And one of the markers for success that Maya discussed is the absence of anxiety when we're eating or making food choices. And again, I know that shouldn't be a novel thing, but for me, at least, it really was. And I'm just really thankful that we have professionals like this out there who are committed to combating the incorrect nutrition information that we see so much online. So I just wanted to finish this video by summarizing and saying food is life, and it's about fueling for life, as Maya said. There are so many reasons to eat particular foods, like sociocultural, economic, environmental, happiness, enjoyment, and all of those things matter. So maybe instead of focusing on a scale weight, you can start focusing on how the food that you eat makes you feel. Maybe that's not new for some of you, but that is huge for me. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that tiny little notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. I hope you guys have an amazing week ahead, amazing weekend ahead, and I'll catch you next time.